All right, I think we're live here, guys. So, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Wisdom and Grit. My goal with this show is to introduce you to the men who build the world and create lives of impact so that we can celebrate them and work together to fulfill the call of masculinity in our homes, our communities, and in the world. Today's guest is what I would call the be-all, end-all of the quintessential overcomer story. In the last few years, he's gone from rock bottom to having spent over $50 million in ads in the last 2 years, and currently positioned among one of the top Facebook ad specialists in the world. His road to rockstar status didn't come with ease. His story will grab you by the collar, slap you around, and throw you to the ground with a smile on your face. Please welcome the man who's never read a Rolls Royce or a five-star resort he didn't like, my friend, the one and only Brad Bearden. What's up, buddy?
What's up, bro? That is literally the best intro I've ever had in my life.
Awesome, man. I love it.
Next time I speak on stage, I'm like, Corey, you got to come in and do the intro just so that.
Dude, I'd love to do that. You just let me know when. So I'm excited. I know the guys are excited. We were just talking about that, and I know we're butting up with the State of the Union address. I didn't know that when we set this up because last week we were having all these issues, right?
Right.
And so I just want to thank you first and foremost for coming back on, man. I know you're a busy guy, so I really appreciate it, dude.
I'm grateful. I love what you're doing. I love your mission. I love all the content you put out. I try to watch as much of it as I can myself.
That's awesome, man. Thank you.
It's awesome, dude. So I'm happy to be here, bro.
Awesome. All right, so you just got back from Miami. You were down at the GC. What was it? The Growth Con?
Yeah, Growth Con.
Yeah, man. So you were down there with a lot of the influencers inside of the digital marketing arena and probably in some of the bigger business arena too, because I know Grant kind of rolls that way.
Yeah,
dude, what was that like?
It was epic. It was memorable. It was an extremely good time. A lot of great people from around the world, and we only made it to the first day of the conference. The rest of the time, there was a 3-day conference, and it was amazing. Well put on events. Probably the best business event that I've ever seen done. A lot of entertainment, a lot of great things, which drew the crowd that it drew.
Yeah.
Most of our time, after the first day and getting to see Grant and Jared and Elena and everyone, it was just business relationships and networking with people that were in town for that same event. So it was really good time. I mean, anytime you get to sit on South Beach in a cabana in the sun and do business with bottles of champagne.
That's a good day, man. Yeah.
I wear a mask off to get there. I'm going to enjoy it. You know, if now this is considered doing business, I'm going to soak it up, and I did. So I'm rehydrating now. I've been just a tidbit dehydrated.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, so we were just talking right before we started this thing up, and you were saying that you were so in Miami. Apparently, it's like I haven't been there, but it's the party culture. I mean, they're living life 100%. You know, you're going to these clubs and stumbling out of there at what time?
I know you're gonna put me on blast, but hey, I'll keep it real. So first night, well, I'll tell you if you want to know the real truth. This isn't a closed group, so I'll tell you the truth. So the first night, Frank and I, we had a couple of meetings that we had to knock out, and then we went up to his room. Because if you know anything about Frank is like introvert level 2000. Like he doesn't want to be around anyone ever except like his closest friends and family, which is cool. And I believe it or not, I'm like that a lot of times. I kind of like 60-40. So, but nonetheless, we're in his room. We got a few bottles of Cristal, and things are going really well. Well, you know how you have the key fob?
Yeah.
We're staying at the Four Seasons Surfside, and it's like you like swipe you don't have to put your key in, the little key in, you swipe it and it'll let you in your hotel room.
Okay.
Now understand what I said. You swipe it so that it'll let you in your hotel room, right?
Oh, okay.
So I'm trying to leave the suite, and I'm starting to yell at Frank like, dude, what the hell is wrong with your door? Because I'm swiping the lock to try to leave the room.
Oh my gosh, man!
I'm like, it was the Cristal had gotten a little bit out of hand. So then I decided I had to meet up with some friends and some colleagues and some clients, and we went out for a nice evening on the town in Miami, which understandably it is Miami, right? It is what it is. So that I mean, late for me, 1:30 in the morning, I need to be my butt in bed so I can wake up the next day and stay on task.
Yeah.
So we're rolling. So we go to a couple of nice places, and we're rolling out the last one. Amazing venue. Had some of the coolest shows that you could ever imagine. But nonetheless, we're walking out. I mean, like people flying from the ceilings and shit. Like it was awesome. But then we're walking out. I swear it's like 1:30 in the morning. I'm like, all right, I got to hurry up, get back to the room, crash. I got to be back up at 4:30 or 5 and, get my day started. It's 6:30 in the morning. I'm like, oh, what happened? It's like,
hey, man.
That was day one. That is how we started our trip. And it snowballed from there. But it was a great time. Great memories made, some of the best connections. I mean, there's a lot of people, how in the day of the internet, like I do most of my consulting through Zoom calls, right? I'm always on Zoom, and I've worked with people from literally all around the world every single week. But this was one event where I couldn't say everybody, but there was a lot of those people here where we were all in the same city for the first time physically. So getting to meet people that you typically have only met online and to hang out with them and just get to interact with them in a real personal, intimate way was a lot of fun, man. It really was.
That's cool. Yeah, I always love being in person way better than being on a Zoom call. But sometimes you got to take it as it comes, man, especially when you're dealing with people all over the world, I'm sure, so.
Absolutely.
That's cool, dude. Well, so right now you're working with Frank Kern. For those of you who are listening that may not know who Frank Kern is, Frank is in the top 5 of all-time digital marketers. You probably would say something different. I don't know. But just based on what I know, he's in the top 5 of that. I've been following Frank for a long time. I mean, he's kind of the godfather, at least in our generation, of that space. Dude, you are now his chief marketing officer, which is unbelievable. But the cool thing about you, man, is that just a few years ago, you were just kind of starting. I don't want to say you were starting out in life. I don't know how far back that was, because the first time we talked, we had just talked over the phone, and you kind of told me your story, and I was absolutely blown away. So I want to take the guys that are watching back to that real quick, because to kind of go from, to having, the bottles of Cristal and kind of hanging out with some of the top, influencers in the world, and being able to stay out to cool clubs and all that stuff from where you came from, man. It's a huge leap.
It is. So the story, I'll tell the story, the quick version of it. But when I was 18 years old, well, let's just go all the way back to when I was a kid. I had a real jacked up childhood. And the reason I share that is I think there's a lot of men in this world that desire to be a great man, but we come from a childhood where we didn't have an example of what that really looked like.
Absolutely.
Right? And so I think we either have one of two choices to make there. Is either we can emulate what we saw or maybe didn't see, right? We can emulate the result of that.
Yeah.
Be a shitty dad and be a horrible husband or whatever, or just a bad human being. Or we can say, you know what, I'm going to become the direct opposite of what I didn't have, right? And that has been my conscious choice to choose to be the dad, the provider, the man that I didn't have growing up. The only memories I have of my biological father are him physically, like with a gun pointed to her head, attempting to murder my mother, and me standing in front of him begging him not to. He ended up going to prison. I never knew him other than just those faint memories. And then my mother did meet a good man who adopted and took me as his own. And it was he did. I carry his last name to this day. My last name Bearden was his last name. But unfortunately, right before I turned 12, he died in a car accident. Wow. And from that point on, I was kind of left to figure out life on my own. It also had a very deep that loss had a very deep emotional impact on my mother. And so I was in a very emotionally unstable home. All right. Now, financially, we were taken care of because my dad was serving in the military. So we had the life insurance. However, I didn't have any type of stability. My mother, after my adopted father's death, she married and remarried and married and remarried and married and remarried multiple times. So I was always in this weird place. What it led to is by the time I turned 18, I was a full-fledged alcoholic, right? Wow. And the thing was I had no identity. I didn't know who I was. I was a chameleon, right? If I was anything, I was a chameleon. I was whatever you wanted me to be so that you would like me. All right. And that's about the furthest thing from manhood. However, when I did turn 18, I went into the Marine Corps. And so I considered myself a man.
Yeah.
And that was what led to my alcoholism and drug habits and all these things, because you couldn't tell me shit. Like, I had this mentality, I'm a man, right? Because I'm a United States Marine. Now, like, you can sit here today and see how ridiculous that was. I was a child. I was a hurt and I was a lost child. But I just had on I put on this persona that I knew it. And how dare you question me? I'm a United States Marine. Who are you to talk to me? And it spiraled me out of control into this really dark place. And it led to about 2 years into my alcoholism. I decided one night to go rob a grocery store. All right. And I was up for deployment that very next week to Operation Iraqi Freedom. It was supposed to be going out to Iraq. And so it was like this going away party type deal. And I decided that we run out of alcohol. So I decided I'm going to go down to this grocery store and rob them for 2 cases of Bud Light and apparently some money.
Wow.
I go in there, I get 2 cases of Bud Light. I take them up to the register. And this literally is like my initial claim to fame. Okay. I made like America's Dumbest Criminals for real. Like,
so really?
I walk in there with I go with 2 cases of Bud Light. Apparently I have a little note that I've written at some point, I put these 2 cases of Bud Light on the cash register, and I was very polite to the young lady. She said, are you serious? Like, I handed her this little note. She looked at me and was like, are you serious? And I say, yes, ma'am. This is on surveillance camera now that the world has seen. Says, are you serious? I said, yes, ma'am. She says, okay. So she reaches in there and she gives me, I guess, whatever money. It's probably like $40, $50, $60. I don't know. And I tell her, thank you. I said, thank you, ma'am. So I put the money in my pocket. I grab the 2 cases of Bud Light. I walk out. Now, this is where the brilliance kicks in, because, how brilliant am I? I was so intoxicated, and during the process of this, I forgot that when I walked out that to pick up my keys, that I had sat down on the cash register. So I walk out to the car, which is locked, by the way. I can't get in the vehicle to get away. And the keys are sitting on the cash register. So the people have come in, like other people have figured out what's happened. So they've got my keys. They're calling the police. Corey, you want to know how brilliant I really was?
Let's hear it.
In the same parking lot. Guess what is also not down the street, not a block away. Guess what also sits in the same parking lot of the very same grocery store?
I can take a guess.
My
police department.
Police station. Same parking lot. So I am brilliantly arrested, and I was charged with armed robbery. And now the armed robbery wasn't because I had a gun or waving around or anything like that. I've been fishing all day, which is where my intoxication came from. I've been drinking all day while I was fishing, and I had a fishing knife in my pocket. Didn't know it at the time, but if you commit, a felony and you have a weapon in your possession, well, that is an armed offense. So I get out of prison. Or excuse me, I go to jail, and I'm in there for like 6 months. And my mother finally bonds me out after 6 months. But at this point in time, I've been blackballed from the community, right? From everybody. I was like, man, Brad is trouble. Brad is bad.
Right.
And rightfully so, right? Everybody's just washed their hands of me. So I met 2 friends that were what I consider to be friends while I'd spent 6 months in the jail. Great place to make friends. Phenomenal place. I'm just like, you can see how brilliant the brilliance is just stacking up here.
Yeah.
Your viewers
That's
like,
a good decision making.
Why are we listening to this guy again? And there's more.
Yeah.
So, we decided to go down to Panama City for spring break. And really, the truth is I was lonely, man. I don't care who you are, how tough you are, how great, big and bad of a man you are. The reality of the matter is loneliness is a very, very dangerous thing, right? And it will make people do things that they normally would not do. It'll make people think thoughts and make irrational decisions that otherwise they would not make. And that's what happened. I go down on this trip, and we end up getting in a fight with some people. And the guys that I was with stole the wallets of the 2 guys that we got in a fight with. And the next day they got caught with their credit cards. And so now we're charged with simple robbery. And there, while I'm on bond for armed robbery in Alabama. So go to court. During your first arraignment, they're like, hey, what do you, it's just plead guilty or not guilty. I was so done. Like, I was so disgusted with myself. I was like, guilty. And the attorney's like, no, I had a court appointed attorney. The attorney's like, no, you can't do that. Like, we have to, like, you just say not guilty, come back in 6 months, we'll negotiate something or whatever. I said, dude, guilty. Like, and I really wasn't, like, I can tell you today, I really wasn't the one that took the credit cards. Like, it really wasn't him. But I was just in this place where I was like, I was done with life. So he's like, okay, so you don't want to fight, negotiate nothing, just whatever they give you. I'm like, yes, whatever they give you, whatever they give me. So long story short, that equates to me spending 4.5 years in prison. For all that combined, I spent 4.5 years in prison. It was supposed to be 5. And of those 5 years, it was supposed to be a 5-year mandatory sentence. 4.5 of it, after 4.5 years, I get miraculously released. And when I say, and I'd been halfway through my sentence, I spent half of it in Florida and the other half in Alabama. So halfway through, I've been extradited to Alabama. And I'm at this camp, this prison, and I get miraculously released 6 months early, have nowhere to go, no family to take me, like nothing. I literally have an officer from the camp drive me down from Decatur, which is very north Alabama, down to Birmingham, Alabama, and drop me off at a halfway house and like, hey, I hope they can give you a bed or something. Like, I mean, I'm literally homeless.
Wow. And
thankfully they do. They give me a cot to sleep on, and I start restarting my life. Now, during those 4 years in prison, 4.5 years in prison, a lot of things changed, right? I made up my mind that I wanted to dictate who I wanted to become. Like, I decided that no longer was I going to be a victim of my own circumstance.
Yeah.
I call it my moment in the mirror. And I think this is applicable to every man, every woman, every child that moves into adulthood or moves into manhood, is that there comes a time where you have to be brutally honest with yourself, and you have to make a choice. And mine was 2.5 years in. I'm 2.5 years into this prison sentence. And I remember sitting there in this, it was during lockdown, the middle of the night. And I don't remember the day, but it was in the month of December. And I'm sitting there, and for the first time in my life, I get up, and it's just everything's weighing on me. And I get up and I look in this little mirror, is this taped on the wall. It's like a piece of polished aluminum that I can see myself. It's supposed to be a mirror. Yeah. And so I'm looking myself in the eyes, and Corey, for the first time in my life, homie, I told myself the truth. Right? I told myself I was a liar. I was a cheater.
Wow.
The shit. Like, I told myself, I was brutally honest with myself, and homie, it broke me because I knew it was true. See, up until that point, I blamed everything. I blamed all the shit that had happened when I was a kid, all the stuff that happened with my biological dad, the fact that my adopted father had then come in my life only to be ripped away, and then my mother had married and remarried all these other people subsequently after that, and I was always never good enough, and it was always something, and I was just in this place, man, where I blamed everything and I blamed everyone else and justified everything I'd done. But it brought me to prison. And so the first time in my life, I looked myself in the eyes and I was like, this is who you are. But there was so much power in that, because at that moment, it broke me. I literally dropped to my knees. When I say broke me, it literally dropped me to my knees, and I cried like a freaking baby. And I was like, man, and this is, everyone has their own path in their spiritual walk. This was the moment where I gave my life to Christ. It's where I became a Christian.
That's awesome.
I said, man, look, God, my salvation prayer was not the normal one. Mine was almost, as much as I can remember verbatim to this, God, I don't even know if you're really real. But if you are, I'll give you everything I got for the rest of my life if you'll just give me another shot, because I've given my all to everything else, and it's brought me nothing but hell. And I sat there and I meant it, and like instantly, I can't explain it other than instantly, everything that I wanted in life changed. Everything that I desired in life changed. Everything that I wanted to become changed. And I realized that I had control over it. I had control over it because I just told myself the truth. Like, I had the power to say, this is who I am. This is what I've done to get here. Well, I have the power to change it. Now, I still had 2 years of prison. I thought 2.5 years, but it ended up being 2 more years of prison that I go through. But when I came out, I was homeless, had nothing there, but I had a mindset, brother, that I was going to win. And good, there was nothing nobody or anyone could ever do to stop me. I was released on November 30th, 2009. Remember, if you can remember in 2009, where the financial markets were, where everything, I mean, real estate crashed. There's people out there with master's degrees and PhDs that can't get jobs. Like, it was literally, hopefully, the worst recession of our generation. But here I am, multiple convicted felon. I'm coming out like I'm going to win. And they're like, no. And I've also been studying to be a personal trainer during this entire time. And now, not like taking real courses, because I was in prison. I was in like real big boy prison.
Yeah.
They didn't have libraries where I could get these textbooks and I could just study on my own. And I was in pretty doggone good shape. So, which I had to be. Yeah. To do this thing called survive.
I mean, you still are today, from what I can tell. So that's good.
Thank you. But at this point in time, I was on a whole other level.
Really?
Oh yeah. But I mean, I'm sorry. You're a 20-year-old white man walking into a maximum security penitentiary. You got one or two choices. You either become a man or you become a homosexual. Period. You can call it what it is. I'm telling you, that's a fact.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So, anyways, I go out. I come out, and I was like, man, I'm going to become a personal trainer. So I start working on getting my first job as a personal trainer. But one of the decisions that I had made in that entire process of just reinventing myself and making, for the first time in my life, decisions on who I was going to be, right? And this will make a lot of sense to you now, because you see how raw and authentic I am on a lot of my Facebook Lives and a lot of content I put out. This will probably give you context on it. Is I made a decision that I was going to tell the truth no matter what. I was going to, I just drew a line in the sand. I was going to tell the truth. That's who I've decided to be.
That's a lot of freedom, man.
It's a lot of freedom, but it also comes with a lot of cost. Because it's real easy to say, it sounds great, but when you have to put it in application, there's a lot of times where a white lie here or a white lie there would make life a whole lot easier. But nonetheless, I've just made that decision. I'm going to tell the truth. And so I'm out there trying to apply for all these jobs. Well, guess the question on there. Have you ever been convicted of a felony? Mm-hmm. Yes. So I'm getting denied. Finally, I get an opportunity to get a second interview at one gym, and they give me a third interview. They hadn't asked any question about ever being convicted of a felony. They end up giving me the job, and they send me home with this new hire packet. It's like this thick. I'm like, damn. Like, man, because I just know what's in there. And I'm like, man, this is my shot. And I go through this entire packet. Corey, to this day, I could not believe that question was not in there. It was like this thick. Miracle. So I get a shot. And I was just hired as a 1099 trainer, right? So basically it's like I get a t-shirt and to walk the floor. And if I'm able to drum up business, then I get it was like $6.50 per session or something is what I was going to get paid. But you're having to just grind and get free sessions everywhere whatever was possible. But I was hungry, baby. And that's an important thing. It's hard to stop somebody that's hungry.
Yeah.
So to speed up this story, 6 months later, I'm the regional fitness director of all three of these facilities, and I'm making a six-figure salary. Life is good. Right, life is really good. I mean, for where I've come from, in less than a year's time, I've exited prison during one of our greatest recessions, and just by being hungry and relentless, I literally went from being a 1099 personal trainer to the regional fitness director of three major facilities with a six-figure salary. Like, dude, I won. Right? I'm feeling great about myself. I'd gotten married and I'd had my two little girls. When they were 9 months old, I ended up going through a divorce with their mother, and it was a very, very tough time. I found out some things that were unfortunate, and it ripped our family apart. Because of the circumstances of that divorce, I was immediately awarded full custody of these girls. Now they're 9 months old at the time. As a repercussion, like a personal repercussion of me getting full custody of my two little girls, my then becoming ex-wife financially devastates me. I'm drained every bank account that I have except for one. There was one that had like $500 in it, almost to the dollar. Like it was like $499, like almost exactly $500. Maxes out every credit card. Like literally within 60 days, my credit score goes from 805 to below a 500. I'm like literally financially devastated. I still have no family or friends like that can take care of my girls, and I'm trying to figure. I mean, these are 9-month-old infant twin girls, and I'm trying to figure out like how to be the full-time dad. I actually had 2 guys from my church who paid for my first month's rent at an apartment complex, and another guy paid for my lights to be turned on, because I literally pretty much overnight went from being stable financially to like bankruptcy.
That's wild.
But now I've got to take care of these girls. And, they're at that stage where they're eating every 3.5 hours, and it's changing diapers constantly. And I'm like, I'm still a brand new dad. I'm like trying to figure this whole thing out. So long story short, like any great, wise entrepreneur would, I was like, hey, this is the perfect time just to start my own business, because that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I've got no money, no credit, like no co-signers, I've got nothing to bring to the table. But I'm like, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. This is what I need to do, because I need to have my girls with me. I couldn't afford childcare. I had nobody to watch them. I couldn't keep bringing them to the corporate gym. Like I had to do something. So I start calling all these commercial realtors. And like, just imagine this conversation going down. Like, yes, sir, I'm interested. Mr. Bearden, how can I help you? I'm interested in getting a commercial lease on this property. Awesome. Well, then it gets to the point I have no money, no credit, no co-sign. Like I've got what the hell? I mean, it's click, laughed at, told me to leave, hung up. But brother, I was relentless. I did not stop. And then eventually I got a call back from this guy named Terry Ponder of Ponder Properties, Birmingham, Alabama. Miracle, man. Dude calls me. He's like, hey, Mr. Bearden, I hear. And I don't know to this day if it was a straight up miracle from God, or if the guy, if I'd left him a bunch of messages, I have no idea. But he calls and says, I hear that you're interested in starting your own personal training studio. And I was like, absolutely, I sure am. He's like, well, we've got a personal training studio at this location in Hoover that has been foreclosed upon. Would you like to take a look at it? It is an amazing location. I'm like, yes, absolutely. But as soon as I get there, I got to tell the guy the truth. I got to just tell him straight up. I'm going to respect his time. So as soon as we show up, I'm like, man, now check this out. This is a foreclosed personal training studio. Still had about $20,000 to $30,000 worth of equipment in it. So I'm like, oh man, it's like this. It's perfect location. But I was like, hey, Mr. Ponder, he literally hadn't even turned the lights on yet. We walk in the door, lights haven't been turned on yet. I'm like, look, Mr. Ponder, I just want to tell you, look, I have no money and no credit. I'm going through a divorce. I'm a single dad. Here's what it is. I don't have a cosigner. I don't have money for a deposit. I don't have anything, but I have my word. And as ridiculous as I know this sounds, if you'll give me a shot, if you'll find a way, give me a shot, give me a month or two of free winters, I'll make this work. And he just stopped dead in his tracks. And he looked at me. You just see he was thinking. And he's like, you know what? I believe you. I was like, well, good, because I'm telling you the truth. He's like, well, let me reach out to the owner, who lived in California at the time. Let me talk to him, see what he thought. Next day, he calls him back. Dude gives me 3 months free rent. Says, here's your shot. We're going to waive the requirement for a deposit. We're going to waive a credit check. We're going to ask you to sign a 5-year lease. But we're also, if you know anything about commercial real estate, this is like so outside of the box.
Right.
Also, if after the first year, although we're going to ask you to sign a 5-year lease, if after the first year it's just not economically possible, we'll let you out of the lease completely without any penalty. Never heard of it. I was like, dude, this is amazing. Then he says, this is a kicker. He says, all that equipment in there? He said, we're going to sell it to you. I'm like, Mr. Ponder, man, thank you so much. But when I tell you I'm broke, crack, I'm broke. I ain't got I'm broke. So can we work out a payment plan or do something? He said, no, I think you can figure it out. We're gonna sell you all this equipment if you want it for $1. You want to talk about boom,
bro? This is insane.
Miracle, right?
Yeah. So
I'm sitting there. I've got my facility. I've got all the equipment that I need. I have a couple of my buddies come over from the church, and we this was not legal at all, but I couldn't afford permits or anything. So I'm sitting there, and because I was like, I needed, because it was a old fitness together. So it had all these rooms. I needed all the rooms knocked out so I could do group training, because group training, I can net more per hour. And so I was like, man, I can't afford all this, city permits and this stuff. So I had a friend who was like, look, Brad, the city office closes at 5 o'clock on Friday. It opens at 8 o'clock on Monday. If something happens between those hours, hey. So 5 o'clock on Friday, had a bunch of guys, a bunch of friends from a little men's small group that I have come in. We put paper over the windows so nobody can see in. I'm talking about sledgehammers, everything, like gangster. It's all got ripped down on the walls. A couple of my buddies invested a few $100s on new paint, painted the walls, moved everything out, opened it up. There we go. Next day I opened my facility, or the next Monday, opened my facility. It was like extreme home makeover in one weekend for this little place. And so, but this is my chance, right? So here's where all this ties into what brings me to today. Is I had given my word that I was going to make this work, that I was going to make this successful. Well, how do you make a business successful? You have to have a bunch of clients, a bunch of customers, right? I had to figure out how to do that. Like, how do I get customers? I have no idea, but I got to figure it out. So I start researching, like, all right, how to build a website, and this was back before the ClickFunnels days. Like this is back. Everything's WordPress. How to build a website, HTML, CSS, all these different things. I'm learning them all. How to properly rank in the SEO, the Google, the Yahoo, Bing, all this stuff. I'm researching this. Oh, and by the way, how I'm researching it is very interesting and very telling. You want to be? This is what it looks like. I could not afford internet access, so I had a little $400 green Chevy Lumina, piece of shit. I'm talking the one of the lights didn't work, the windows didn't work. Like radio didn't work. Seatbelts, the only seatbelts that worked were the 2 seatbelts in the back that my little girls sat. Their car seats was locked into. Nothing. So, but I would get my girls to sleep each night. This is how I even learned this stuff. I'd get them to sleep each night. I'd make an extra bottle, put it in their lap, so if they woke up, it'd be right there. And I would drive to Barnes & Noble, to the little coffee shop that they have right there at the corner, like it's inside Barnes & Noble. Yeah. It's got free Wi-Fi access. Well, I figured out if you park in this specific parking place outside of it after they close, you can still connect to the Wi-Fi. So I'm sitting there in the parking lot all night long, still in their Wi-Fi, like how to build a website, like how to make Google #1 page in Google, how to make the #1 page in Bing, just learning about SEO, learning about direct response marketing, how to write copy, how to write headlines. And I had no money for courses. I was YouTubing and Googling this shit.
Yeah.
And trying it and failing. Long story short, 18 months later, we're doing 1.2 million.
How long? 18 months?
In 18 months, we're doing 1.2 million. I'm crushing it. I'm sorry?
I said, what? That's crazy, man. Yeah.
But here's the cool thing. Now, at the same time, I'm being a full-time single dad in this, so I had to learn to systematize stuff, right? So I became, I don't know if you're familiar with Infusionsoft, but I became an Infusionsoft ninja, not out of desire, out of necessity, because every system that I built for this gym, it had to be automated, right? I couldn't afford the time, the leisure to do everything by hand. So I had to learn how to systematize. I had to become, and if I didn't have any options, it's like here. So 18 months later, everything's systematized. Everything's running like a well-oiled machine. We're doing 1.2 mil. Like, life is good. And I can now be an all-in dad. But here was the kicker, Corey. It was during this time that I realized I didn't really care anything about the fitness world. Now, I like fitness for myself. I like fitness for my family and my children. I see the benefit of it. But from a career standpoint, I had no interest in it. I had a love and a passion for marketing. So it's just one stepping stone brought me to this place where it's like, wow, this is the thing that I like, and I'm really good at it. Like, I get it. Yeah. I can't say I never would have discovered it. I don't know that I would have discovered it through any other means. But I got there out of necessity, and I learned, so I learned about something about myself that, man, I'm a marketer. I'm a salesman. Like, this is the thing that makes me tick, the thing that I'm really good at. Yeah. And so now that my business is automated, it's running, it's extremely profitable, things are good, I start consulting. So I start consulting first. What most people would do, because this is what I knew best, was gyms, other gyms, and all around the country. Ended up in a ton of different countries, but just started in the fitness and gym world, helping other people systematize their marketing and sales. Then I realized that, hey man, this stuff works for other service-based businesses. So I start working with attorneys, start working with real estate agents and brokerages, start working with chiropractors and I mean, everything and anything in between. Start doing really well. Then I get interested. I get interested in bigger deals, right? Because I'm always looking for that next challenge. And I end up working with franchises and start crushing it, right? I just start crushing. So the last franchise I worked with, a nationally branded franchise, they brought me on for a 6-month engagement. And within 3 months, I'd increased their front end acquisition by 400% with the exact same ad spend they'd spent for the year previously. So by 400%, it was insane. So that put me on the map. So people in those circles started taking note, like, hey, this dude like can help you, like for real. And so those,
which is rare inside of the digital marketing space anyway, right?
It is. Yeah, and so, but everything I was doing, I like, if you look back though over my story, like I didn't have the leisure of failing. Like I had to, like I built my skill set out of necessity. Like this has to work. And so that when you go into a consulting gig and like you have that mentality, like this has to work, like you find a way to make it work.
Yeah.
So that ended up leading to an introduction to Frank Kern. And he hired me. He's like, hey man, I really need some help with my Facebook ads. And he was working with an agency at the time called Dominate Web Media, and they're supposed to be this big bad agency. And I'm tell the truth, like they were horrible. They couldn't do shit. And so I come in. He's like, hey, can you help me out? I was like, yeah. So he hires me for 90 days consulting. Come in. The most profitable 90 days based off of marketing ad spend he's had in his entire career.
Wow.
We blew it up. And he's like, man, dude, what will it take to bring you on board and to be my CMO, to run everything we have? And at that time, I had a few consulting things going. I had marketing agency I'd started up, had someone else running. And we had a conversation where he made it, attractive enough for me to say, you know what? Let's do it. And I walked away from everything, came full-time on him. Been one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life.
Yeah, he takes care of you from what I can tell.
He definitely does.
I don't know if you're getting an echo, but if y'all stay with me, I don't know what's going on. But anyway, phenomenal story. That was amazing. Dude, are you getting that echo? Okay, I'm just getting feedback. So anyway, okay, I think it just went away. Awesome. All right, sorry about that. That was tripping me out. I was like, oh gosh, all right. That is an amazing story, man. So like, we kind of talked about this prior to on the call or right before we got on, man. But how do you go from that much lack in your life to having that much abundance without going absolutely insane? I mean, how do you handle that transition?
Yeah, great question, man. It's, what we talked about before, it comes down to being willing to be decisive, right? One of the most successful character traits that are, let me rephrase that. The most successful people that I've been around, they have two common character traits that are across the board, right? Is number one is they are willing to be extremely decisive. They make decisions very quickly, very, very quickly. That is not a long drawn out decision. When they see an opportunity, they see a challenge, they make decisions quickly, and it's not always the right decision, but they always are extremely decisive. That's something that I've found that's played out in my life as well. I'm willing to make decisions, even if they're the wrong ones. I'm going to be decisive. Secondly, is willing to adapt, right? And that those two kind of go hand in hand. When you make quick decisions, a lot of times new circumstances will arise, and you have to be capable and willing to adapt to make the best of those situations and circumstances. Again, some are going to be great, some are not going to be so great. But it's those two character traits that I think you have to embrace. And it doesn't happen by accident. It comes through making a conscious decision to be that way, right? Every successful character trait that I've seen from myself and from those people that I'm able to do life with, they've personally instilled that into themselves. They haven't just woken up one day and said, you know what, I'm just going to be decisive and adaptable. No, they chose. They said they made the conscious decision that they understand that the end result is if I'm extremely decisive, even if it means sometimes making the wrong decision, over time, I win. So they make a conscious decision to do that, and they're willing to adapt their lifestyle, their approach, and whatever is necessary in order to make any and every situation work. The reason it's so hard for people to do that is because it means that you have to become comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right? And it sounds almost cliche because it's that term is used, but it's so true. Like if you're not willing to put yourself in uncomfortable positions, you're not going to be very decisive, and you're not going to have the opportunities that some of the most successful people in this world will.
Dude, absolutely right on. I mean, for me, the biggest differentiator in my life is that when I was a young man kind of going through a lot of issues, not necessarily the same, but I mean, definitely in that same vein of upsets and, a lot of different things that had happened to kind of craft my life. I knew that in order to become the man that I wanted to become, I had to be comfortable with that uncomfortable level. So that's good stuff, man. Dude, okay, so you're around a lot of people, and I know primarily now you're probably not around as many guys that would sit around and make excuses and complain and all that. But what do you tell a guy like that? If you come across them, what's going on in your head? What do you say?
Well, honestly, I'm at a point, Corey, where I know how important my energy is.
Yeah.
And like, for example, there's been a lot of people that have asked me and told me, man, you need to go back into the prison system and like share your story and motivate people. Look, I ain't going back to prison. I ain't going back for any reason. Okay. Yeah. And I say that in like a funny way, but I'm serious. Like I'm not surrounding myself with anybody that's not willing to work for themselves. Like I just know it to be true. There's nothing, I can't say there's nothing. I don't know that to be true. I'm not going to try to convince somebody to be the best version of themselves. If someone has already made that choice, I will do anything and everything I can to help them to reach that goal. But I am not in the business of trying to convince somebody that there's more to life and they need to actually start working towards it. That comes from within, because here's the reality. I can give you all the skill sets in the world. I can teach you all the tactics. I can teach you all the strategies. I can introduce you to the right people. I can put you at the table. There's a lot of people. I just had a conversation with a friend yesterday, and I gave him, I put him in a I gave him a really great opportunity, and that he probably wouldn't have gotten any other way. And I said, look, homie, I said, I got you a seat at the table. Now, how you play your cards, that's on you. Right? Because there's nothing I can do to force people to play their game at the highest level. Yeah. So I've just reached a point. I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not going to waste my energy. If somebody doesn't already have that drive in them, and maybe this is a character flaw in me. I'm not saying this is the right way to be. I'm just saying this is how I am. I have no time. I literally don't have any space I have zero empathy, zero. And absolutely no sympathy for somebody that's got woe is me and woe is my life, man. Fuck you. Like, put on your boots, stand up, become a man, and make a decision. Quit blaming people. And I feel like I can say that confidently because I've been on both sides of the fence. Yeah. I've seen the fruits of living on both sides of the fence. So I can't answer that question because I'm not the guy. I'm the guy that just be like, well, sucks for him.
Yeah, well, that's what I was hoping you would say. I mean, because I figured you would say that just because I know how important our time is, and especially you've got 3 kids, man. You're trying to be present in their lives and make an impact in their lives, and then on top of that, you're out there running and gunning. You guys are making a difference over at Kern and doing all that, and it's like, man, you can only spend so much time around people who are going to choose to make bad decisions, and after a while, or no decision at all, which is probably even more frustrating. But like. And after a while, it's just like, dude, you don't have that capacity to just give away. So now the reason I asked that question is because I really want the men here to get that. I think a lot of guys have this intention to like, well, I just want to help people, and you have to be freaking choosy about who you choose to help, man, because I'm telling you, people are leeches if you let them to some of them, I say that, not all of them, but and the ones that will rise inside of that, they're going to notice the opportunity. They're going to do everything they can to step in, and they're going to be grateful for the opportunity. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. So you guys are killing it at Frank Kern, man. I want to kind of talk about that real quick.
Sure.
Because you guys are doing what's called intent-based marketing, which I freaking love the concept of that, the name of it. And
intent-based branding.
Branding, sorry. Yeah, intent-based branding. And it's been really good for you guys, man. You guys are killing it organically, and then you're coming in on the paid ad side. Kind of run everybody down about what that actually looks like, if you don't mind.
Like what intent-based branding is?
Yeah, for some of the guys that haven't heard of it yet.
Sure. So basically what we do is use video marketing to reach out to a cold audience. So for the most part, we use Facebook and Instagram. That's where the bulk of it is used. We do absolutely use YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and I'm missing one. Another one, whatever it is. If we can post on it, we're posting.
Yeah.
But the bulk of it is in Facebook and Instagram because they have the greatest reach. And what we do is we put out video content that is helpful to people, genuinely helpful to people, that can move them towards their goals. And here's how we come up with our content. We ask ourselves, this is important right here. We ask ourselves, or our previous clients or current clients, what are the questions that our clients are asking themselves 7 days, 14 days, 30 days before they make a buying decision to do business with someone like us, like our ideal client? Like if we just get into their brain, we say like, what are the questions that they're asking themselves 7 days, 14 days, 30 days before they're actually making buy decision? Okay, once we've identified that, we now have context of what we can build our content around.
Right.
And so we start making free content for around those topics, and we start targeting those videos to those audiences, to those people.
Yeah.
Now, the reason we do the video content is because we can track how much of a video they watched. And so if they watch 25% of any of these videos are typically 3 to 8 minutes in length. And once they watch 25%, we exclude them from that audience, this cold audience of people that have never heard of us, and we move them over to the warm audience. Now, once they're in the warm audience, we've got about 50 more of those videos that we're going to deliver to them, and we're going to run these all as video engagement ads, where they're just getting tons and tons and tons and tons of free helpful content. So what happens is it creates this scenario where we're almost omnipresent, right? As soon as they watch as soon as they raise their hand, and by raising their hand, I mean they watch 25% of one of these value building videos on the front end, right? They wouldn't have watched 25% of one of these videos if they weren't genuinely interested in that topic, right? Does it make sense? So if they've raised their hand and says, hey, they've identified themselves as being interested in this, which means they may be it's possible that they are one of our ideal clients. Now we move them over to the warm bucket, and every single time they open up Facebook, they open up Instagram, they open up YouTube, we're there. We're there right away, adding more value, answering more of those questions that they have. Awesome. And so what it does is it creates this level of authority and a level of appreciation, honestly, in the marketplace that makes it extremely easy to sell, and honestly, extremely easy to sell a much higher ticket than everyone else. And so that's really it in a nutshell.
And you guys are no joke. I mean, y'all are doing some pretty massive numbers, bro. I mean, obviously y'all got some money to put behind it, but even on the organic side, y'all are killing it, like $500,000 a month, right? Or something. I mean, that's the last, I think Frank said that last video.
We just closed out this past month right at $500,000 a month. And that was off completely organic traffic, free, no ad spend. Now we have ad spend, which brought in hundreds of more of the thousand, but that's just from organic. Yeah, we've done just this past month, we just closed out at $500,000. So, dude, it's like it's a powerful concept.
Yeah,
and it really works if you just put yourself out there. So many people are so concerned about perfecting everything that they never get started. And if you some people saw us at the conference this week on the beach, me and Frank and Natalia, And they were like, man, they just saw us from the distance, from the side. They said something afterwards. So that's really how y'all do it? And what they were referencing was we did a Facebook Live from the beach with a few of them, but this particular one, they had saw us like, hey, man, we need to do a live right now. It's like, okay, cool. What do you want it to be about? Oh, let's do it about this. Boom, and hit it and just went live. And they were so blown away. They're like, man, is that really how it is? Like, yes. Like we're on the beach, so the wind's blowing, audio's not perfect, whatever. We're just gonna go out and put out helpful content every single day.
Doesn't that type of content tend to engage at a higher level?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
If it's all perfect, then people automatically are kind of coming in with their shields up a little bit because they think it's a sales pitch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
So that's good, man. So you've seen a lot of my content, and I'm not even close to doing it how y'all are doing it. What would you say I'm doing right, wrong? We use that as a case study, but what would you say I'm doing right and wrong, and how do I make it better?
I would say that you're doing a lot right by giving great content.
Okay.
If I were to say there's something you can improve, I would improve your pattern interrupts and your the first 7 to 10 seconds of your video.
Okay.
Because remember, most people are not going to watch it live. Even though you do it live, you're literally 95+% of the people are going to see it after the fact. And they're going to make a decision within the first 7 to 10 seconds of whether or not they're going to watch that video based off of your pattern interrupt and your energy level. Okay. So within that time frame, within those 7 to 10 seconds, you need to be very intentional in telling them what is the benefit about it and why they should be excited about hearing about that benefit.
Okay.
If I were to say anything that you might want to do differently or test out, that would be it. Other than that, man, I think your content's amazing.
Thanks, man. No, that's great. That's excellent info, dude. And seriously, man, anytime you see something I can improve on, and you don't ever feel like you're gonna hurt my feelings, because I just want to get better. I don't care about.
I will.
Cool. Yeah, no, that's good, dude. So, a couple of questions for you. So, from the perspective of giving quality content, let's see, what was it? Okay. As far as the actual topics, a lot of times for some of the guys that are watching, I know, and I'll let you explain, and then just from what I've heard Frank kind of talk about with the 3 pillars or the 4 pillars or whatever, but kind of explain that whole process for choosing the content that you're doing on a consistent basis. Because I think that's really the hardest point for most people to kind of come in tune with is what should I be talking about if they're not used to it?
It really goes back to what I just said earlier. Is you want to be asking, you want to get in your ideal prospect's head and say, what are the questions that they're asking? They are asking themselves before making buying decision. Now, if you want to take that a little bit deeper, when you want to talk about, we're going to get a little deep here, so hopefully I don't lose anybody. But
it's good, man. Take it.
You have to know. Ask yourself, what must your ideal client, again, we've already identified who the ideal client is. What is it that they must believe to be true in order to desire to do business with you? Let me give you an example to make it clear. One of ours is we have one of our core pillars is that marketing is good. Okay, sounds real simple. There's a lot, specifically paid marketing is good. Now, we're big on organic traffic too, but specifically paid marketing is good. There is a lot of business owners out there that do not believe that paid marketing is a good thing. They view it as an expense and not an investment. So although while we're trying to answer those questions that our ideal prospects are answering themselves, we're also wrapping it around one of our core pillars, which is paid marketing is good, right? Because if our ideal client does not believe that paid marketing is good, they're probably not going to ever want to do business with us.
Right.
So that if you just identified 3 or 4 of those statements, you can make content all day long. What is it that your ideal client must believe that to be true in order to desire to do business with you? What are those things? It's going to be different for every business, but for whatever that may be, you have to identify that. What must they believe, and then build your content around why they should believe that.
That's good, man. That's really solid. So one of the things that I've seen with experts to some degree, right, or in their space, but primarily in the coaching or consulting realm, is that they have down this system where they're having a hard time figuring out how to scale that. Is that kind of in the same vein as what we just talked about, in your opinion, or what would you recommend for them?
Scale what? I'm sorry.
Their business. So I had a call the other day with a guy, and he's got a company where he's developed out some training stuff and all that, and it's really, really high ticket. Well, I say really, really, but around the 12 grand mark, something like that. And anyway, so he's basically set up the scenario where he's getting calls scheduled, and he's doing it by reaching out to certain people and all that. How he's having a hard time automating that and making it more scalable.
Is he running paid ads?
That I do not know. But it sounds like that's kind of where he needs to go in at.
Yeah, I mean, if you're putting out a bunch of organic content and you're hitting a ceiling, it means one of two things. Either you need to run ads or you need to expand your audience. You're obviously, or excuse me, paid ads is expanding the audience, or your content needs to be better, right? It needs to be more engaging. So it's either one of those two things. Either expand your audience or you need more engaging content.
Gotcha.
So like he needs to think outside the box. Doing the same thing isn't going to get you different results, right? So you have to say, all right, either I need to take an honest assessment of my content and say, am I getting the engagement that I am? If audience isn't a problem, right? Let's say he's got 100,000 followers. Okay. Right? If you're not getting enough business to scale a 12K product, then it might not be your audience size. It might be your content just might suck.
Yeah.
And that's a hard pill to swallow because people are like, man, I'm the expert. I'm the guru. I'm this, I'm that. Well, it doesn't matter how we feel about ourselves. We live in what we call a free market.
Right.
The free market means the market has a freedom to decide whether they want to consume what you have to offer or not. Period. The market makes the ultimate decision. And so the market tells you that your content sucks and they don't want to consume it. That means you need to check your content. You need to change it, regardless of how we feel about it.
Yeah.
We let the market decide. So either the content needs to be better, it needs to be more engaging, it needs to be more entertaining, it needs to be more authentic, maybe. Or if the content's great, he's getting great consumption, maybe it's just an audience issue. He needs a bigger audience. So there's only really two ways that you can get a bigger audience. Number one is through a joint venture. Have a joint venture with somebody who has a bigger audience that's not your own and partner with them to get in front of those people, or run paid ads, right? Which is what I prefer. I think running paid ads because you have more control over it.
Totally. So we'll finish up because I know we're running down to the last few minutes here, but as far as learning Facebook ads, for some of the guys that don't know how to do it, where would you point them to go and learn kind of how to do it in an effective way?
Intent-based branding. Come buy our course for $3,000.
There you go. I didn't know y'all taught that in there, so there you go.
I built it, the 6th module in it, the 6th week of that training. Yeah. I built that Facebook course, and you can't buy it just go buy the course. You have to invest in the intent-based branding training. But gotcha. I can say, like, legitimately, I've taken every course on the market. I've spent a lot of time coaching the people who have built what many people would say are the best courses on the market. This is literally the best one. Like, when you talk about what's working today, the course is so granular and shows step by step. I mean, you ask me an honest question, I'm gonna give you an honest answer. Go invest in the intent-based branding course, and when you see the Facebook side of it, that's all you need to know.
Perfect, man. No, that's excellent. Because I know a lot of guys are probably sitting there wondering, like, man, how do I learn what he's talking about without having to go sit in the Starbucks within a parking lot of a bookstore and try to steal their internet, right? And kind of
go kernclass.com and they can check it out. So they just go kernclass.com. They'll see a video of what we're doing. They can check it out, and they'll see everything. If they want to invest, they can jump on the phone with one of our team members and see if it's a good fit for them or not.
That's amazing, man. Well, Brad, dude, I am so grateful, man, that you took the time to be on here. Last week we had those technical issues, a little frustrating for me, and I know you were on your way going to Miami at that point, or getting ready to anyway, so there was a lot of pressure on you. So I think it actually worked out today, even though we're kind of I'm putting you up against the Donald, man. Doing the State of the Union address. You totally blew it out of the water, though. I'd put you up against Trump today for sure, man. You know,
I love it.
So, but anyway, dude. So tell everybody where they can find you. I recommend you follow him, by the way.
Yeah, man. Check me out on Facebook. I don't post on Instagram nearly as much as I should, because if I were to show you, I'm logged in as Instagram. I'm logged in as Frank. So, so I don't post personally on there, but come on Facebook every single day. I do a Facebook Live where I try to add some value. Sometimes it's just shenanigans, but nonetheless, go find me on Facebook, follow me there, and connect with me. If there's ever any way that I can help you, man, feel free to inbox me. I try to be as accessible as I possibly can to my followers. But if you want to learn about what we're doing in a lot more detail, we've got the free training at kernclass.com. It's worth going and watching that free training. It's really, really in-depth. It's like 23 minutes long. And if you want to invest, there's options for that afterwards. But just watch the free training. You'll see how we're really doing all the stuff that we talked about tonight.
Bro, that was amazing, man. Thank you for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. Proud to have you in the group. Brad's in the group, guys. So, too, you can engage with him there and just follow him for sure on his page or on his personal profile because he's doing a lot. You do live videos every day now, right?
Every day, baby. 100K challenge.
Yeah, he's committed to doing the videos every day, and he's putting out some gold. So, guys, thank y'all so much for taking time to be here. I know some of y'all had other questions and stuff like that. Maybe Brad can go answer some of your questions in the comments if he has time. But I know he's got a lot going on, so when things catch up, dude, appreciate you. Appreciate all y'all being here. Y'all have a great night, and we'll see you back tomorrow. I'm going to be interviewing Ryan Mickler with Order of Man, so we got a twofer going on this week, and it's going to be awesome. So we'll see y'all later, man. Brad, thanks, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you so much, brother. Love what you're doing, my man. Keep it up.
Thank you, buddy.